Okay, so we've made our controller, we've written some routes. Our routes are now tying to closures, and we want them to tie to the controller. So we're going to open up our routes file and actually tie our routes here, just these three for now, knowing that we're going to end up doing all of this. I'm just going to go ahead and remove it. And we want to tie, instead of a closure here, we want to tie it to a controller. The to-do list controller, our controller, has those actions such as index, show, edit, so on and so forth. Here, we're going to actually remove all of this information. And then instead of a closure as our callback, which is what we had before, we're going to use the string call to the actual controller. So to-do list controller. And then we're going to use the @ ampersand, to pass through to an action, so index. Okay. Same thing is going to be used here for to-dos. So I'm actually going to copy this one, remove it completely. And now here we're going to have /todos. And it is actually going to do the same thing. So we can just leave that be. Now let's see if that route's actually going to work for us. Okay, it's going to to-dos, but it's not doing anything. It's not serving a view. In fact, if we go to our actions and look inside of our controller and look at the actions, to-do list controller, you'll see it's actually doing nothing. But it is tying here, so we can just say okay, return, refresh, all the lists. Okay, now all we need to do is really take the logic that we had here, our view, and we really only need this first part here, that was in the home route or the to-dos route, and put it right here into our index. So view make to-dos index, and that's all we need. Make sure you close that off, end your statement, and then refresh. And now we have show all to-do lists. Home route, same thing. Okay, so moving on, we're going to go and add our show, which is here. And then you'll see here we've been passing through with ID. So we're still going to need this /ID, but we're going to want to remove all of this information here. Actually, we'll just leave this, cut it out, get rid of our closure. Okay, and then again, same thing. To do list controller @show. Notice we're not doing anything with the ID. We're just saying here's the ID. Go to our controller, get rid of this, paste in our code, which we had before, return view make to do show, which is our view, and then with ID, and then $ID, which we're getting from here. Let's see if that works for us. There you go. So everything the same, except now we are using the controller instead of our closures. Makes our route file much cleaner. We can actually get rid of this. Okay, let's move on to our next step. So we can continue to go this route, write out everything with gets and puts and posts in order to create our full RESTful routing. But this is a resource. This is something that's very common. So we're going to need to assume that Laravel has something for us to use in regards to routing for resources. So let's take a look at the docs, and I'm going to show you a way that we do routing with resources. So let's go ahead and go over to our browser and open up our docs. Now here you'll see routing, and then you'll see routing to controllers, which we've just done. And then it says Laravel allows you to not only create route to closures, but also controller classes, even the creation of resource controllers. This is what we're looking for. So going over to resource controllers, which actually falls under the controllers section of the documentation, we have already done a controller make, and now we can just simply write in route resource, the name of our resource, and then the controller. Let's see what that does for us. So we're going to switch over. We're going to go back to terminal, and we're going to look at inside of our Vagrant. We're logged into Vagrant here. We're going to do PHP Artisan route. Okay, so here we have our three. Now, we go back over to our code, and we simply say, we'll just comment these out for now. I'll delete them in a minute. And so we're going to leave this one. Okay. Now we're going to say route resource, and then the closure, and then the arguments are the actual resource name, to-dos, and then the controller, which is to-do list controller. We'll save that. Now let's go back and take a look at our routes. Significantly more routes, but you'll see this is our entire RESTful pattern. So we have the base, which is the root, which we have created manually. Then we have to-dos, which goes to to-do index, and then shows the action inside of the controller that we're going to use. Same thing for create, store, show, so on and so forth. So this is exactly what we're looking for, and we have a way to edit, destroy, update, create new forms, everything with a single line in our routes. The last thing to take note of here is the actual methods being used to call these. So you'll see there is a get for the root, there is a get for to-dos, and there is a get for create. But you see that if we want to store something after we've submitted the form, forms are going to use the post method. So we're expecting any post to just /to-dos or the main to-dos page. That's going to route to the store action, which is going to allow us to create our new to-do list. We'll have a get for showing. We'll have a get for creating a form to edit. But then we're going to use a put method, which is a form of a post method, but to do updates. And that is going to post to update. Same thing is a patch to to-dos is going to do the same action. It's going to go to to-do list controller and the update action. Delete is also a post. So we're going to need a form to delete, but the method is called delete, and that's going to go to to-dos. And the ID, so you'll see to-dos / and then the ID, which will be to-dos. And then it's going to pass through the method destroy. So we're basically using all of our main HTTP methods here in our routes, but we've done it all with a single line.